Hey, howdy, Glenn with the Cactus Atlas here. I'm in the deserts right outside of Death Valley National Park at an old mining town called Rhyolite. Rhyolite saw its peak around 1907, and then over the years eroded away into almost nothing. We're gonna go explore what remains today. I've been wanting to do this one for quite a while. I've been really excited about it, and I'd love to have you join me. So 1907, an interesting number we keep running into on our travels through ghost towns throughout Nevada. On this trip I've been, this is my third now. Goldfield was the first that I stopped at, then Tonopah, and now here. All three of them seem to have boomed around 1907 at the same time. And there are some connections between here and Goldfield, or at least one that I'll point out in a little bit. I'm also noticing tons of rusty metal, like just everywhere. It looks like old rusty cans, more rusty cans. And here's the remnants of some structure. Not much remains, just a bit of the foundation. You can still see pieces of wood embedded here in this foundation. Here's an interesting piece of concrete that I found. It's got some writing on it. I wonder if it said water. That's T-E-R. Anyway, yeah, just random stuff. Put it back where I found it. So an interesting thing to note about Rhyolite, investors put a lot of money into infrastructure here. I heard that this had running water, plumbing, electricity, lights, all around the turn of the century, going into the 20th century, that is. So I suppose if you were out here at that time, you would have been living large. And I guess this is the main drag. Quite a few buildings remain. Wow, look at the size of this building. So after the collapse of the mining industry in this area, a lot of the buildings that were here were either relocated to other towns. I think Beatty, nearby Beatty, has some of those. Haven't done any research on that. Others were just kind of disassembled and taken apart for stuff. And you know, all that really remains here are a few of these really large concrete structures. I'm guessing that would have been too much work to tear that apart. Okay, so I did want to come better prepared. I kind of banked on there being some kind of informational pamphlet at like an information center. Shouldn't have been so naive with everything going on with COVID, because I think I didn't see anything open, nor did I find any information. So I'm kind of flying blind and not sure what some of these buildings are, and my internet's struggling out here too, so I'm trying to get information so I can at least explain to you what some of these are. Okay, with a little bit of persistence, I was able to get some information off the internet. So what we are looking at here is a school building. It was 2 stories and 8 rooms total. Yeah, it makes all the difference knowing what you're actually looking at, right? Now here's the next section, like a dense cluster of buildings that we're about to go see. So that building behind me is the HD and LD Porter Mercantile Store. It was the leading mercantile store here, according to what I just read, in Rhyolite. They sold supplies, groceries. Yeah, I'm sure that was a hopping spot. And you can still see the sign. It says 1906. That's a really cool one. That's one of my favorites so far. I'm wondering if this paved sidewalk is the original. I bet it is, because yeah, these columns and the stairs going up to it lead right back in here to whatever this was. Ooh, spooky. This is what it looks like inside of this vault. Rusty ceiling, a lot of graffiti. Hopefully there's nothing naughty. You can see some people here. The Zarek family left their mark in 2014, 2018, 2019, and 2020. This is interesting and probably unfortunate. You could see people chipping away at that plaster to create more graffiti. And you can just see all the rubble. I'm assuming this is just the walls and ceiling having collapsed in. That whole wall over there is missing. I don't know why, but collapsing buildings interest me. They always have. I'm weird like that, I suppose. And that is what I believe is the Cook Bank building. One of the big ones here, probably the tallest one, and one of the more famous buildings. Wow, you can just tell how big this building is. You can see the downstairs level. There's like a vault down there or a room. Yeah, this would have been a really tall building for that time. Another building from the heyday, the Cook Bank building. In fact, when you're at the beginning, or where I parked, there's like an old picture of the town, and you can actually see this thing towering in the landscape. And you could also see there's a lot surrounding it, a lot more buildings that you don't see today. So you really get a good sense for the size of the town and have something that serves as a landmark. So it's really cool seeing this in the context of the town this used to be. So it's interesting, the Cook Bank building, there's actually another building in Goldfield with the name Cook on it that I saw. Apparently this was built by the same people, probably in the same era, maybe even the same year. Have some more interesting structures next door to the Cook Bank building. You can still see brick way atop that structure there. And this is the view from the corner of the Cook Bank building, looking back towards the Mercantile, the old school building, and then whatever that was. Still want to say some kind of a bank or a place where they had a vault to safekeep something. It's interesting that, I've been to a lot of ghost towns, old mining towns, and you see varying levels of arrested decay. I would say this one, is something special just because of the grandiose nature of these buildings here. A lot of other towns, things decay so much that they're just like piles of wood at points, and they start to renovate them, but it's really cool to see something like this, just to really understand how crazy the mining industry was back in the day. So when I've watched other videos, people really put a laser focus on the buildings, rightfully so. Those are the stars of the show here. Never really seen anybody walk the whole distance of where I'm going, and it's relatively short, but at the same time, much larger of an area than I anticipated. Not complaining, I'm really enjoying this walk today. It's beautiful country, and you can drive. There's plenty of parking all over the side of the road, so if you don't want to walk, you don't have to. Most people I notice are kind of driving and parking, so that's definitely one way to save time. This interesting building here is the old train station. They actually had a train that came through here and I think connected some of the other boom towns of the time. And I believe in later years this became a casino. But I would say this is one of the better preserved buildings here. Probably because it served as a casino years later and they took better care of it, I'm assuming. Yeah, this is one of my favorite buildings here, I'd say. It'd be so cool to go inside something like that and just see what the inside looks like. I made it to the other side of that train station, and you can get up a little bit higher from this perspective, so you might get better photos on this side. And I'm not sure if this was the front or the back. I think I called the other side the front because it looked more ornate and front-like in my mind. So I'm not sure which side the train tracks would have been on. Regardless, that's pretty cool. And just taking that view, note like where these structures are, and just these folks would have had the most fantastic view living up here. I'm sure life was hard though, so they probably didn't take too much time to take in a deep breath and enjoy it. So sort of behind the train station is some random wooden structure out there, like an old cabin. Let's go take a look. This is another one of those things you're like, am I supposed to go in or not? I don't know. There's nothing saying don't, but this thing feels rickety. I could feel this whole structure moving. There's the remnants of an old bed, the springs. Wonder how old that is. So I've read that this caboose here was made into a makeshift residence for a miner or somebody that lived in this town. Converting things like a caboose into a residence was not that uncommon back in the day, I read. You know, I wonder, even though the year was, you know, circa 1907, you know, they had plumbing, electricity, and other things here, which would have been pretty new at that time. You know, that's the era, like where the Old West kind of morphed into more modern times. And that's probably why you see evidence of like investment, all these large buildings, all the industrialists throwing money into this. But I imagine this was still quite a rowdy place to be, even in 1907. And of course I see the usual warning sign to look out for rattlesnakes. But now that it's November and it's cold and it's already snowed, I'm guessing they found a nice warm burrow for the next few months, so probably won't be seeing any of that today. Darn. I mean, if you can just keep looking, the further I go, the further I look out, I keep seeing the random wall here and there. If you kind of use your imagination, you see all these little pits, which I assume are cellars, and you look at all the pits around here, you can kind of start to fill in with your mind how many buildings, how many blocks of streets there may have been here. And here's another one. This one actually has a pane of glass still in it. I'm assuming that's not that old. That wood looks kind of fresh. So I'm skeptical that this thing is completely original, wondering if it's like a renovation they're doing. I guess that looks like it could be original. I don't know. I saw some graffiti carved inside. You can't get in anymore. So I also see trails going up there in what looks like maybe might be the entrance to some mine shafts. I see something way up there that looks like it might be one. I'm gonna climb that hill a little bit and see what I see. But first, here's another interesting building. This one I'm not sure what it is. I can't find any info, and my internet is really struggling, so having a hard time. So I apologize about that, but this looks like it was something of significance. It's got a big iron door on it. Well, nothing says don't try. Oh yeah, that is welded on there. That ain't opening. You know what? I'm gonna guess this is a jail, huh? Kind of trying to peek in here, see what I can see. Somebody bent a couple of the bars here to make a perfect thing to poke your camera through. Yeah, that's neat. But yeah, I'm gonna guess this is a jail. I mean, you would agree, big iron doors on this building and bars, metal bars. I mean, makes sense that it would be a jail to me. That's fascinating, actually. If any of you guys know, I mean, I'm sure I could research it if I had internet really fast, but yeah, it's just not happening for whatever reason now. I do think I see a mine shaft, actually. Cool. Yes, check that out. It's a mine. Now they do have barbed wire here, blocking this off. The entrance to the mine is open though, and you can sneak under there if you really wanted to. You know, as much as I want to, because I'm doing this public YouTube thing, and then we're on federal property, I think I'll mind the barbed wire. But yeah, you really couldn't, I wouldn't go inside of it, but you can see a few feet into it. It's pretty cool. You also get a perfect perspective of the whole town from up here. All right, well, I can actually climb up a lot higher. And it looks like I saw another mine shaft up there. Not sure how I spotted it, but I'm pretty sure it is. What do I do? Well, this is the Cactus Atlas, right? What the heck? I gotta do it right. Another nice view from even higher. You can see all the roads crisscrossing in here. So cool. Yet so sparse based on what it once was. So what is this? I bet that's a mine. You know me, maybe I'm juvenile. Have to do an obligatory rock toss. Hear how deep that goes. Wow. That is deep. That is real deep. Oh my God. Hopefully this ground I'm standing on is firm. So my destination is right up there. There's more barbed wire. I think that's another pit. So cool. That's better than the first one. So neat. I want to go in, but I won't. So if you don't like mine shafts, don't worry, it's still worth coming up here because look at the views you get. All right, I saved this little guy for last, this little bottle house. I love how it's surrounded by Jurassic Park style fencing. I appreciate preservation and trying to protect stuff, but this was a little overboard to me. I think most people, like a shorter fence or something that's not as obstructive would have done the trick, I think. This structure is much more sizable than I ever thought it would be in my imagination. Note how it's constructed from a bunch of glass bottles. Now some of you might find that a bit odd. Glass bottles, what gives? Well, makes sense if you think about it. I mean, what the heck were they gonna build without here? I mean, I don't see a single tree worthy of using for lumber anywhere around here, do you? Glass bottles? Hey, why not? Now, throughout the Southwest, you'll come across these guys. I believe they have like a replica at Knott's Berry Farm of a glass house like this. And I believe there's another one very similar at Calico Ghost Town near Barstow, California. There's probably others that I don't know about. Now, since I don't have any kind of like literature on me and no internet at this moment, I can't get all the particulars about this, but I have read about it. I believe this was built by a miner or someone that lived in this area precisely because of what I told you, just because there are no other building materials around here. I'm guessing there are plenty of saloons though, and plenty of opportunities to get your hands on bottles, so yeah, I guess it makes sense. Probably insulates well too, I imagine. Anyway, there you have it. The bottle house, the glass house. Not sure the official name. Looks like they have a freshly paved pathway here though, so I imagine sometimes they have this open. Wonder if you can even go inside of it. You might, maybe if they man this. I'm guessing because of COVID, this is closed like many things, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is open sometimes. So there you have it. Rhyolite, Nevada, one of the coolest ghost towns I've ever visited. Really enjoy this one. Yeah, I don't need to say anything else. You saw for yourself. Make it out here if you ever get a chance. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.